My name is Stephen Bronk, and I'm a soloist here at the Deutsche Oper Berlin. I've been here for 13 years now, and I've been singing professionally for 40 years now. And I thought during this time that we are spending so much time at home, I might be able to talk with you a bit about some components of singing, and perhaps you will be able to find one or two things, or maybe a lot of things, about these components that will interest you and that might lead you to try them out. So one of the first things I'd like to talk with you about is breathing. So, breathing. Of course, breathing is one of the most important parts of singing, because singing is about turning air into sound. And so breathing and everything that has to do with breathing needs to be looked at and examined a bit in order to figure out what it is exactly we're doing, and how does that work. There are some misconceptions about how breathing functions. One of the things that I always enjoy talking about is the diaphragm. Of course, most people know that we have a diaphragm, and that it is vital to our breathing process. Most people don't realize exactly where the diaphragm is positioned in the body. So maybe it might be a good idea to take a look at that. If you're looking at me right now, my diaphragm is about here. So what that means is that the diaphragm basically separates the lungs with the thorax. The thorax, just to be clear, the thorax goes all the way down to here. It does not end at the waist. The thorax goes all the way, let's just say, to the middle of your body. And the diaphragm is positioned about here. And the diaphragm is a very flat muscle. It has a double dome shape, so it kind of fits in very neatly underneath your lungs. And what happens with the diaphragm is that when you take a breath, the diaphragm contracts. Now, most people think about contraction as something that happens like this. In the case of the diaphragm, however, what happens is that the diaphragm lowers and expands. And by doing so, pulls in air, because you've created a vacuum, let's just say, and the air flows in. This is why you don't, for instance, die at night when you go to sleep, because fortunately for us, the diaphragm and a lot of the muscles that work together with the diaphragm are involuntary muscles also, so they work even when we're sleeping or when we're not even thinking about it. So that's the diaphragm. And of course, we have the lungs. This is where the air goes, okay, up here. The diaphragm contracts, air comes in, and when we exhale, the diaphragm returns to its position. Now, of course, the only muscles involved are not the diaphragm. We have the abdominal muscles, they of course are involved. the intercostal muscles here, the oblique muscles on the sides here. They are all involved in this process of breathing. And the big question that we always have as singers is how to breathe, how to best breathe. What is the best way we can do that in order to use the breath then for singing. And I do have a series of exercises that I teach. Besides being a singer, I'm also a vocal instructor, and so there are some exercises that can be used to train the muscles, to train the coordination between the abdominal muscles and the intercostals. The diaphragm itself is not a muscle that you can actually train. The diaphragm does its work. What we can do and what we can train are the abdominals and the intercostals, and of course, in time, there is also this connection between the larynx and the thorax, which we will get into at a later date. So the thing about exercises is this. First of all, one thing that we always have to remember is, and this is very important, is that training the muscles, the various muscle groups of everything in the body that you will be needing for singing, is not a question of strength. It is a question of coordination. The interplay between all of the factors of breath and support, something that I will get into in a minute also. The vocal cords, the larynx, the pharynx, the vocal tract, resonance, all of these things, they are things that need to be experienced. They need to be tested. What you need, you see, is because when things are all good, let's say, then you need someone who can then say, that was great, you see, that was good. This was not so good. Try like this, which is why it's really, really very important to have a hands-on situation that is a one-on-one. Something that is unfortunately at the moment a bit difficult. Of course, many of you, and hopefully this will continue, have lessons with teachers and not via electronic things like Skype and FaceTime and so on, because let's face it, these things they change the sound, they change so many things. It makes it very, very difficult to really hear and see what is going on. So it's a very, very important thing to have someone you trust, someone who's knowledgeable, to get their hands on you, get their ears on you, get their eyes on you, in order to be able to say to you, okay, look at this, this is good coordination, you're doing really well here. Here you could try maybe something, it's a process, and as I said, it's a question of coordination, not strength. muscles can get tired, as we all know, if the longer you use them. So the idea, of course, is to have exercises that really get to the point and exercise what you need in order to get the results that you want. So I hope you enjoyed this small excursion, and next time I would like to talk about the components of body centering, very important, and support, big topic. I look forward to your comments, your suggestions, and mostly to your questions.